the movie. This is quality filmmaking, just mwah, chef's kiss.
Oh, my bad. What's good, YouTube? This is Aquarius Leviathan Prophecy, and today we will be reviewing a video. Obviously, there were videos about Batman stealing. Obviously, it's basically about Batman, foreign checks and stealing checks and whatever have you. He's not all, rich like everybody thinks he is, and all this and all that. This will be by Film Theory. Shout out to him, and I will put the video in the description box down below. So let's get it.
But can we just stop and think about this
Like, comment, subscribe, share.
for a minute? How on earth can Batman get a credit card? Does the Batcave get junk mail telling him he's pre-approved for a card with a $7 million limit? Also, at that point, doesn't it just pretty much give up the ghost when it comes to his secret identity? Yes, we'll start sending these multi-million dollar bills to... Of course, I'm joking about all this, but also, I'm not really joking. Batman tells us all the time how he is. Stop that list, though. I have no way color written on this running millions of dollars for my investments. Oh, sure, everything's all hunky-dory while we suck it under prison. The same when it comes to committing corporate crime, Batman is just too many crap. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that secretly funds by accusing a billionaire's parents were killed in an alleyway by unresolved plot holes. I don't know what you've been thinking about recently, but lately my brain has been fixated about how mass superheroes can make a buck. It all began last year when Falcon and the Winter Soldier showed us that an Avenger might not be capable of making it. Which, what even if the military contracted private militia that didn't start the Avengers trying to get some of that government dollars? Avengers, let's introduce you to Patreon. Start a GoFundMe. Look, if this rando naps for $10 to make a potato salad and wind up earning 50,000 in donos, I think you're gonna be fine there, Falcon. Spider-Man, you too. Now that you're going solo post No Way Home, skip the whole freelance photographer for a newspaper thing. You're gonna make way more, way easier by just turning the camera on yourself and becoming an Instagrammer. Own those exclusive rights to those photos, y'all. Anyway, in the world of superheroes getting paid, one person that never needed an explanation was Batman. It's always seemed pretty obvious, right? His parents were rich, and when they died, he inherited their billions, which he then uses to pay for his gadgets. Simple, right? Seems like it should be, but there's actually a lot more complication here than you might initially think. In anticipation of the new Batman movie that's coming out, I've been going back and rewatching the Dark Knight trilogy. And when you actually follow what's going on in these movies, Bruce Wayne shows himself to be more corrupt and more destructive than literally any of the criminals that he throws into jail. It's only now that I realize it because, I'm an adult who has to think about adult things like taxes, and now I'm starting to see all the ways that he's screwing people like me over. Oh yeah, and in the process, he's also exposing his secret identity. It's gonna be a fun one, friends. If you need any background on this, it's Batman. If you haven't seen Bruce Wayne's parents get shot in the back alley by now, then let me be the first to welcome you back from your 82-year coma. You're a medical miracle. After the incredibly wealthy Waynes get killed, Bruce inherits a massive business empire, which, shockingly, is not squandered by the men running it during his adolescence. This means that when he reaches adulthood, Bruce Wayne is really, really rich.
What are your superpowers again? I'm rich.
While his depicted net worth has constantly fluctuated over the years, it's usually trending upwards over time to make sure that Bruce remains one of the richest people on Earth. In 2020, the comics version of Joker stole all...
I mean, if you add it all up, it kind of makes sense.
Harley Quinn replacement said that Wayne was worth over $100 billion. Surprisingly, that's only half of Jeff Bezos. Is there a joke to be had there? I don't know. I'll let you fill in the blanks. The problem I'm talking about, though, isn't the $100 billion. It's that in the very same comic, Punchline points out that Bruce doesn't personally own that much. Instead, he keeps all that money in shell corporations to secretly move it around and mask his vigilante activities. This started to raise some red flags for me. You see, I'm interested in the films, and wouldn't you know it, but this exact same money scheme is explicitly talked about in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins.
The company went public a week ago.
And I bought most of the shares.
Through various charitable foundations and trusts and so forth.
It's all a bit technical, but the important thing is that my company's future is secure.
Here's the thing, those lines make it sound like Bruce Wayne actually owns Wayne Enterprises, but when you look at the reality of the situation, that is far from the case. You see, as we just heard, Wayne Enterprises just went public. That means it isn't just owned by the Wayne family or their small pool of investment backers anymore. Instead, the company is now owned by thousands of shareholders, all of whom have chosen to invest their money into the company after perusing Robinhood for like 5 minutes. They are all given legal rights as shareholders, rights that are going to be causing some big problems for old Batman here. First of all, shareholders have a right to information. Since anyone who owns stock in a company is considered to be a part owner of that company, it's their right to see what the company is doing with that money. In The Dark Knight, we learned that Wayne Enterprises books aren't exactly squeaky clean. As his own accountant, Mr. Reese puts it,
Applied Sciences. Whole division of Wayne Enterprises just disappeared overnight. I went down to the archives and I started pulling some old files. Don't tell me you didn't recognize your baby out there pancakking cop cars on the evening news.
oh sure, watching the movie, we're all like, be quiet, lane numbers, man. Stop being a buzzkill. But in reality, this guy, he's the true hero. He's defending, the everyday people who invested their hard-earned money into the publicly traded company that's supposed to be operating above board. And he's defending it against Lucius and Bruce, the two guys who are cooking the books. Doing a pretty bad job of cooking those books too, I might add. This also means that any stockholder doing their due diligence on the company is going to be noticing the same kinds of things. Alarms would be raised by any half-decent investment broker when they realized that large assets were just disappearing off Wayne Enterprises' balance sheet. Every time something goes missing from those books, Bruce is stealing his shareholders' property. Sure, he might own a sizable chunk of the company, even a majority of that company, but there are still a ton of non-billionaire investors who are watching their retirement funds get recklessly driven around Gotham at night. A bigger issue with this kind of behavior is insider trading, which is buying and selling company stocks when you know that there's something being mismanaged inside the company, but you're still pretending that everything is fine so you can make a profit. For instance, if you knew that company assets were being stolen and disappearing, but publicly you told people to buy stock like nothing was wrong, or, you had charities you own buy and sell stock for their own benefit, that is big oof illegal there, Bruce. Thankfully, it's something that recent comics have begun to address. After the Joker and Punchline steal all of Bruce's money, it exposes the fact that Batman has for years been embezzling funds from Wayne Enterprises every time he crashes a Bat jet ski. In Batman number 101, we see Lucius Fox outright say, quote, "I now have tens of billions of dollars sitting in cash in my bank account. I could give it back to you, but it wouldn't be like it was before. The government now has its eyes on you, Mr. Wayne. You are going to need to account for every penny. You would never be able to use any of it to fund Batman again." End quote. So this isn't just a case of me overthinking a narrative like I so often do. This is an outright reality of Batman's story that the world of DC is finally starting to acknowledge and address. And all of this is without actually accounting for what Bruce's daytime activities are doing to the valuation of his company. As you may or may not know, stock prices are a general reflection of the overall sentiment people have towards a company. Sure, while they should be based purely on statistical data around a company's earnings, production, history of giving shareholders dividends, and how much or little competition a company has around it, we all know that stock prices are affected by all kinds of finicky feelings from the general public, especially if the head of the company is a celebrity. For a company like, say, General Electric, I would bet that most of us don't know the name of their CEO, H. Lawrence Culp Jr. Can't think of a more white guy CEO name. Lived in the Northeast and playing racquetball at the club on Saturdays. My point is, he's a rich and powerful dude, but he's not famous. Where he eats, what he posts on Facebook, because looking at that picture tells me he's definitely using Facebook, no one really cares what he's doing. The other end of that spectrum is our boy Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, who can't get heartburn without making headlines. He's a celebrity, and he's done that largely of his own making, and it's clear that he uses it pretty regularly to influence people's opinions about Tesla.
Tesla, and by proxy its stock price. A tweet about solar roofs, stock up 3%. Tweet about how the stock price is too high, down it goes 10%. Is what he's doing technically illegal? No, it's a gray area to say the least. If you do something that knowingly affects the price of a stock, but you either buy or sell the stock right before or after it happens in order to make yourself money, that's illegal because you're manipulating the stock price yourself. Elon is a person strongly involved in Tesla's business, aware that his actions both online and offline will move the stock price, affecting thousands of individual stock portfolios, retirement incomes, etc. And he chooses to make publicly controversial moves anyway. Anyway, I'm not going up against the world's richest man today. Who knows what dumb content decisions I make down the line. Anyway, I'm not doing it today. The point is, Batman is not a Lawrence Colt Jr. Batman is an Elon. The movies show consistently that Bruce makes headlines every time he gets himself a new girlfriend, does something irresponsible in one of his sports cars, or donates money to whatever the charitable organization of the moment is. Probably a charitable organization that he already owns and has gifted Wayne Enterprises stock to. His actions impact people's overall perception of the business that bears his name, Wayne Enterprises, and his actions are all